Hi, today I would like to show you my attempt of doing a branding iron on CNC router, and I must say from the very get-go this is a failed attempt. So yeah, let's get into it, and I will go with you through the process, what I did wrong, what I did right, and what I will need to change on the future generation. You can see me setting up the mini vise on the CNC table. I'm just dialing that in with the indicator, and here the process of milling is just starting. You can see already the finish is not that great. It's because I'm using a single flute end mill, and because it's a single flute end mill, it doesn't leave very nice finish. For the second operation, we're using same end mill, and we're just gonna remove the top stock to the final dimension. And here again I'm using, like I said, same end mill, which took a long time, longer than necessary, and it didn't leave a amazing finish. Over here we're boring a hole for the thread for the branding iron, so we can tap it later and screw the rod, and then heat it up and mark whatever we need to mark with a branding iron. Over here I'm just checking the finish. There is a little burr raised up on the edge, but more concerning is the actual side of the part. The finish is absolutely terrible. Over here we are using different end mill. This is 2 flute 6mm end mill, and the result for the finish are, I wouldn't say spectacular, but 100% better than with the previous end mill. So this is the way forward. It needs to be 2 flute or 3 flute end mill for the nicer finish. We are removing stock with adaptive strategy. Then there is a contour to finish off. Over here we can see it again with a small end mill, which is not ideal, but it's been addressed for the further operation. We're removing a top layer, and then we're using free adaptive strategy to remove the rest of the material from the top. The size of the branding iron is roughly 5 cm by 2 cm. For entire milling we're going to be using a few different end mills. This one is rather large compared to the rest of them. We are continuing with the same operation. The video is slightly sped up, so it doesn't take as much time. Over here you can see a 2mm end mill, 3 flute being inserted, and this is doing same 3D adaptive but with rest machining, so it's only gonna attach where the previous end mill couldn't go in, and it's just gonna remove the rest of the material from the previous operation, preparing for even smaller end mills to go afterwards. We could technically go just with a single small end mill, but that would take forever. The speed for this end mill is around 600 millimeters a minute, and it's hundreds of a millimeter per tooth. Speed is 20,000 RPM. This end mill is 1mm free flute end mill. This is second to smallest end mill which we're gonna use today. This one, it will go again with the 3D adaptive strategy to remove the bulk of the material between the letters in this case, and everywhere where 2mm end mill couldn't go in. We are spinning this fella at 20,000 RPM. The chip load per tooth is 0.01mm, and the speed is roughly 600mm a minute. So it's fairly quickly for such a small end mill. For this end mill, the depth of cut is 1mm and the width of cut is 0.1mm. The same was for the 2mm end mill which we used previously in previous operation. The one thing which I find out hard way is to never leave too many chips build up on the actual part and give from time to time a blow, or just have some kind of air assist when you're doing brass. If that would be aluminium, there should be some kind of a mist cooling or flat cooling going on, because it's really easy to snap those end mills when there is when the chip's being recutted. Over here there is a macro shot of the at 1mm end mill just doing its final clear up between all the letters. Now after that we're going to even smaller end mill, which is tapered 15 degree end mill, and the tip of the end mill is 0.4mm. This end mill will go into all the spaces where the previous end mills couldn't go in, and it will just finish up all the lettering. Now this is the final operation, which shouldn't be done in totally different order, but this is another story for another video. I'm just decking the part off because the previous end mills for some reason did leave a tiny amount of burr which was unpleasant to touch, so I'm just doing a spring pass, just removing all the raised burr from the top. Okay, so this is the finished product. It's I must say it's terrible. There is a couple mistakes I made it. The first and the most noticeable one, there is a massive step between operation 1 and operation 2. Obviously I didn't measure that correctly when I was flipping the parts in the vise, and there is a around probably 0.5mm step over. Here you go, the macro shot of the finish. The part never been finished with the finishing strategy. This is after adaptive strategy, so it looks fairly decent, I would say, but on the next generation there is gonna be a finishing strategy for the floors and for the walls as well. And here you go, the bottom part, it's the single flute end mill, and the top one is the two flute end mill. The difference is night and day. The last shot is floor finish on the very top. It's reasonable. It's semi-mere finish, but you can see the lines from that single flute end mill. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this one, and see you on the next one. Cheers.